You're listening to the Journey Podcast. Could it be possible that subconscious healing is much quicker and more efficient than trying to create changes consciously? More about that in today's episode. Hi, I'm Petra Brunbauer, and with decades of experience with sadness, pain, anxiety, and stress, I finally figured out how to leave all that behind. And this podcast shows you how to break free permanently so you can reclaim your sanity and find the self-esteem and energy to go after the life you desire. With real talk about mental health, holistic healing, and the tough journey of coming out the other end. This is the Journey Podcast. Welcome to today's episode. The subconscious mind is very powerful and effective. Utilizing this amazing power to bring about healing lies at the heart of the concept of subconscious healing. Often, our conscious mind likes to interfere, criticize, and filter what we do. This protects us from uncomfortable and dangerous situations, but it can also hinder progress we want to make when it comes to life changes or healing. We overthink decisions and question our ideas and thoughts. Bypassing the conscious mind and going straight to the subconscious mind can be much more effective and quick to achieve the results we are looking for. I had the pleasure of exploring the subject with transformational coach, subconscious specialist, healer, and mental health advocate Sasha Tarasova. She overcame a dark depression without therapy or antidepressants. Her tools were personal and spiritual development. She is now on a mission to share her story to inspire others to begin their self-healing journey, to guide people through their transformation, and to help raise the collective consciousness. Sasha was born in Russia but lived in 6 countries across 3 continents and traveled all over the place. She married at a young age but had to leave her 11-year relationship behind with lots of lessons learned. At the age of 27, she started feeling depressed, and it took her 3 years to admit that she had a problem when she started having suicidal thoughts. She got herself out of that dark place by going all in on personal development, doing deep shadow work, and by connecting to spirituality. Sasha truly believes that we all have a calling in this life, and our desires are indicators of that. If we ignore our needs and desires long enough, we become disconnected and depressed. Sasha has always enjoyed helping people, and after working with a coach for the first time, she realized that this is where her life experience meets her strength and her passion. Her mission is to help people elevate consciousness, reconnect with their true self, and rediscover their light. Let's meet Sasha Tarasova. Hi, Sasha. I'm very excited to have you on the podcast today. We will be exploring emotional release and subconscious healing, both amazing topics for holistic healing and mental health. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Petra. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. And to get started, do you want to share a little bit about your own transformation and your healing journey?
Sure. So my own healing started around 7 years ago, I believe now. Basically, I had depression, and it started very mild. Like for most people, I didn't really know what the symptoms were, so I didn't really pay attention to it. Because I didn't pay attention and I continued doing what I was doing, the symptoms got worse, and eventually I got into like a full-on really bad depression that was making an impact on my life, and especially my mental and emotional health. And so when I started to have suicidal thoughts, I said, okay, I need to do something about this. This is not okay. I tried therapy, didn't really work for me because it didn't really release the emotions. We were just talking about them.
Mm-hmm.
So I started looking into healing myself because the therapy just wasn't doing it for me. And I started simply with meditation and journaling. And the more I was looking into it, the more of different modalities that I was learning and practicing and trying everything out on myself, I eventually came to discover NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming. And that is what made a huge shift and transformation in my mental and emotional health. And previous work with meditation and journaling also did tremendous, tremendous healing for me. But I noticed more major shifts happening after I started doing work with the subconscious mind and really releasing the emotions from the body, from the nervous system.
And that makes sense because through the subconscious mind, we can access so many different things, our healing blueprint, and also, give instructions to our body that bypass those filters that we have in our conscious mind that kind of sometimes act as a bit of a blockage. So I can definitely understand how accessing the subconscious mind would work really well. And when you talk about emotional release and subconscious healing work, how exactly does that work?
So the first step to any healing is always awareness, becoming aware as to what it is we're dealing with and what is the root cause of this thing, whatever we're dealing with, right? So as soon as we find out what the root cause, and usually it's something that stems from our childhood, sometimes it's from teenage years, and sometimes it's even, genealogically passed down to us in our family. So after we identify the root cause, then using very simple NLP techniques or other healing modalities, there are different kind of healing modalities out there. You just find the root cause and you release it. You release the emotion. As long as you release the emotion and you learn the lesson around what happened, the unconscious mind then lets go of this emotion. And usually what happens when the situation happens in our early childhood, our subconscious mind can interpret it in a way that may not be necessarily what actually happened, right? And then based on that, we can store the emotion inside of our nervous system and then we can make meaning out of it. And then this might turn into a limiting belief. So, for example, if a young baby, like a little baby, is left alone crying for too long, even though it's a little baby, the unconscious mind is always there, it's always present. So the unconscious mind might think, oh, I'm left alone here in the darkness, crying, nobody's around. That might mean that I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, things like that. And then that belief stays in the unconscious mind for the whole life. So once we're able to identify that and the root cause of that, then we can release it. And that will create very profound changes in the person's life when they stop believing that and they start believing something more empowering.
Wow, that is really profound and very powerful. So you're using this to help yourself with your mental health journey, but now you're also an entrepreneur, and there are a lot of women out there who have careers and who own businesses, and the mental health stress from that is huge. So what mental and emotional challenges do you face as an entrepreneur?
Oh, yeah, definitely. When I started going into entrepreneurship and building my own coaching and healing business, like that was a whole other level of personal development and growth because so many fears and worries and limiting beliefs came up that I thought I kind of already went through, but no, there's so much more in there. So I think the biggest challenges for me in the beginning, especially, were fear of being seen, fear of judgment, fear of rejection. So going on sales calls felt super uncomfortable, and selling my services felt even more uncomfortable because, first of all, I've never done it before. And if you're working in a service-based business, when you're selling your services, it's almost like selling yourself. And if your worthiness is attached to the value, if you think that the price or whatever is attached somehow to your own worthiness, then it can be very difficult to sell something. And on top of that, I discovered later, I had a belief that my clients don't have the money to pay me. And so I kept on hearing no, no, no in my sales calls. And that really affected my confidence in the long term. So I had to work around that. And once I released the belief that my clients don't have the money, I actually started signing clients, believe it or not.
Wow. Yeah. And that is, I think, a very common thing is that as entrepreneurs, we experience a lot of limiting beliefs and we may not know exactly where those came from. They become apparent in how we limit ourselves in business. And of course, that circles around to our mental health because it does affect us in all kinds of ways. So, your latest program is about money and sales energetics, which also ties into the entrepreneurship. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Oh, yes, definitely. So, after going through my own journey of growth and healing of all these limiting beliefs and releasing a lot of fears, I realized that one of the most profound shifts for me personally was working on my mindset around money and sales. Like I already mentioned the sales part. So when I was not feeling good about my offer and I was not feeling confident in sales calls, people didn't want to buy from that energy. Like I wouldn't buy from that energy either, you know? So I did, I did quite a bit of work on that. And now I'm pretty confident in what I do. Like I love my offer. I know it works. So it's easy for me to talk about it. I don't even have to sell it. I just have to talk about it with passion and people are very interested about it. And when it comes to money, one of the things that I noticed for myself and also for the entrepreneurs that I've been talking to and working with is a lot of the people have very limiting money stories. Things like money is evil and there's not enough for everybody and I have to like earn and deserve money. I have to do something to get the money, you know? And all of these, because we believe in these basically lies, because they're not truth, they're lies. We're putting limitations on ourselves. Like just last week, I had a call with a fellow entrepreneur who is still in the early stages. And when we did the assessment and we found out that she was blocking money from coming in, she almost wanted to hide from money. Like when we did like a visualization with her, and when I asked like, okay, so how does it feel when the money is coming in? And she said, I want to hide. It doesn't feel comfortable. So imagine if that's the energy you have around money, and even if money tries to come in, because money is essentially just a resource, it's energy, like everything is energy. And money is just a neutral resource. But if we deep inside we believe that money is somehow bad or that rich people are bad, and we don't want to be bad, so we don't want to be rich. So the unconscious mind is going to be like, no, if you don't want to be bad, then we cannot have any money. And it's going to find all the way to sabotage having money. And even if you attract some, probably you're going to end up spending them.
Wow, that is really powerful. And that makes me wonder now how our mental and emotional states can really influence our money story and what we believe in our personal lives and also in our businesses. That is so interesting.
Yeah, and this works with everything, not just money, but I feel that money is such a huge topic, especially for entrepreneurs, because essentially we need the money in order to be able to do what we love and to make the world a better place, right? So I decided to create a program around this specific topic to help fellow entrepreneurs and coaches and healers. And I noticed that especially coaches and healers tend to struggle the most in this area, I think because before becoming a coach or a healer, most of us go through something very traumatic. So there's a lot for us to heal on our own, right? Yeah. And so I noticed like the biggest blocks are around feeling worthy of having money and feeling deserving of having money, and the previous struggles around sales that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah. And what would you personally recommend for someone who's struggling mentally and emotionally to start their healing process? Maybe not just around money, but also in general.
Yeah. So first of all, of course, seeking help is always a good idea. In my opinion, conventional therapy might not be the best option, but that was just my experience. I'm pretty sure there are amazing therapists out there. So seeking professional help, whether it's from therapist or a healer, someone like me or somebody else, would be a good start. If you don't feel like doing that, I started with meditation of 3 minutes per day and journaling. Like journaling is one of my favorite tools. I still use it almost every day. It can really help you get out of your own head and put things into perspective and allow you to see things from an outside perspective. And like I said, once the unconscious mind learns the lessons, it's much easier to let go of the emotion. So if there's this, emotional, like strong situation going on in your life, just write about it in the journal. Write how you feel, write like what happened, write your conclusions about it, and then read through it again. And just see if your attitude or like the way you feel about it changes. Maybe there's an insight, maybe there is a breakthrough. Sometimes journaling alone can be enough to release an emotion.
Yeah, journaling is such a powerful tool. And we do use it for healing work a lot because not only do you get to share your thoughts and feelings with your journal, but you also, like you said, you can go back and you can read and you can see what you can pick out of there that might be helpful to you. So that's a very, very powerful advice. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're more than welcome. For some people who really don't like journaling, there's also movement that could be good and healing. A lot of
Yes.
people use breath work to release emotions. And I've tried a lot of things, and the most powerful for me personally were hypnotherapy and NLP. So the
Hmm.
things that I use in my work. And NLP is especially powerful because if you get to that root cause and you release that root cause, then all of the consequent events, let's say, that were basically fortifying that whatever happened and basically keeping it stuck in your body, all of those events will release as well.
Yeah.
So releasing the root cause is super, super powerful.
It's like pulling one of the strings on the bow, and then the whole thing just kind of comes apart.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Something like that,
yeah.
yeah.
Wow. And you've been working really hard on some of your own programs and services. So, could you go over what it is that you offer so our listeners can get a feel for how they could work with you or how they could connect with you in their healing journey?
Yeah, most definitely. So I offer single breakthrough sessions, and these are like more laser focused on one specific issue or a specific emotion around a specific situation. And if it's, for example, if we're working with entrepreneurs, we could look at aligning with your offer, feeling good about the offer, and feeling good about selling it in one session. In another session, we can look and do an assessment of the money stories and maybe heal one of those things. If you're looking at potentially not entrepreneurs, but anyone else, I had a friend who had a fear of rejection, like a strong fear of rejection, and it was affecting her relationship. So we worked with that, for example. And I also offer two programs. One program is more focused for entrepreneurs, and that's around money and sales energetics, like we talked about, where we look at, what are your blocks to attracting clients and income and making that impact. And we work with that. And that is a 6-week program. And then I have a bigger program that is a 3 months, and that is basically a spring clean of all of your past emotions. That is not necessarily for entrepreneurs, it's for anyone who's having a lot of emotional struggles, potentially some depression or just not feeling good in life, and wants to feel better, wants to let go of all the past, wants to stop people pleasing, wants to stop sabotaging themselves. Then this program, it's called Mental and Emotional Release. And that program is 3 months, and it goes very deep, and it basically cleans the majority of issues from the past.
Hmm. And do you use NLP techniques in those programs as well?
Yes, NLP and a few others. Yeah, mostly that. But most of my techniques are around healing the subconscious.
Hmm.
I also add some coaching in there as well.
Wow, those sound like amazing programs. And are those programs available for people to join online, or do they have to be where you are in person?
No, it's all online.
Perfect. Yeah, I love that. That is one of the things that has been great the last few years is that so many things came online and now we can access all of these fantastic programs no matter where we are in the world. So, yeah.
Yeah, God bless technology.
Yeah, it's fantastic when it works.
Especially when it
And
works, yes.
yeah, exactly. Always the thing with the internet. Keep your fingers crossed. But yeah, those sound like some amazing programs. And I was wondering if you could maybe leave our listeners with a little piece of wisdom or a little nugget before we close out the episode. Something that you could maybe tell them about emotional release or subconscious healing or anything like that.
So one piece of nugget that I can give you is do not avoid or run away from your emotions. If you get triggered, this is gold. Treat it as gold, because anytime you get triggered, that's something coming up for you that is ready to be released, that is ready to be looked at and healed. So next time, if you get triggered in a situation, maybe you get angry or sad or you feel guilty or whatever you feel, just try to ask yourself, why is this coming up and where is it coming from and what is this trying to teach me? Because there's almost always a lesson, and if you manage to find out the lesson, it can be much easier to deal with the emotion and maybe potentially you can even release it. So triggers are great. They're gold.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. That is really great advice because a lot of people have fear around triggers because they feel like they're losing control of their emotions or they're going to re experience their trauma. So, triggers can be a very scary thing. And to sit back and to look at that and say, oh, something is going on and I can maybe learn something or find a solution here. That's a great way to look at that. Wow. Thank you.
You're more than welcome.
It's fantastic. And Sasha's offering two wonderful gifts as well. The first one is a self-love journal that she offers on her website. And the second one is a Heal Your Money Story workbook, which will also be available on her website. And do you want to talk just a little bit about those two gifts?
Yeah, sure. So the self-love journal is a PDF, so it's very easy to download. It's a bigger one. It's about 40 pages long, so there's quite a bit of stuff in there. And it's designed to basically help you start getting aware about what is going on, what needs to be looked at, and then basically it takes you through a few steps of how to start working on it and how to start releasing that. And the point is to basically get you to know yourself a little better, because self-love, we cannot love ourselves if we don't know ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that in order to cultivate self-love, you need to first discover who you are, discover all the great things, discover maybe not so great things, and start releasing the conditioning and the past emotions and the beliefs that are not true and all the stuff that is not even yours.
Mm-hmm.
And little by little, you will get to a place where your real true self, and you don't even have to make an effort to love yourself anymore from that place. And
Yeah.
the second journal is a bit shorter, and it's specifically to identify your money blocks and to start releasing them as well. There's an amazing healing exercise in there to heal your relationship with money. So I definitely recommend you get that one. Both. I recommend both, of course.
Yes, absolutely. And we will be linking to all of Sasha's offerings in the show notes as well. So be sure to check there for the links to her site and her beautiful gifts for you. And you can also find out there how you can connect with her if you'd like to work with her. Well, this has been another incredible episode, and I hope our listeners have enjoyed this journey into connecting entrepreneurship and emotional release together and looking at that from a bit of a different perspective with Sasha. It has been a pleasure having you on the podcast. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for creating this beautiful podcast that talks about such important subjects. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. That is so kind of you to say. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Sasha, and take care. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen in. If you enjoy the Journey podcast, please subscribe, share on social media, and leave us a review. And be sure to get your copy of our brand new ebook called Break Free. Sending you love and courage, and see you next week. Until then, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and the Journey blog.